Hey guys, how you doing today? Oh man, I tried to experiment with the channel and I tried to do like a really short video because like lots of people tune out after about 5 minutes. And so I thought to myself, well, why not just do like a 5 minute video, see what happens? Total disaster. Total disaster. Nobody cares about a 5 minute video. Everybody wants to click on something that's got a little bit of meat on it. So I think the thing that's been bouncing around in my head all day today. Um, Joe Biden's sort of movements on these what used to be a $2,000 check and is now a $14,000 check and $1,400 check, and now it's going to be even less than that. And just how the Biden administration is dealing with, I mean, having to come in the middle of a botched COVID disaster. I mean, it's got to be incredibly difficult, and there's got to be incredibly difficult decisions to make. But it's really, really obvious to me that, like, when you're in the middle of a pandemic, especially, don't you want people to have access to the market to be able to get food and shelter for themselves? Isn't that something that you're interested in? Like, during World War II, like, the government would even hand out rations. They would hand out, like, ration slips, right? Which amounts to a basic income. It gives you your food, it gives you your shelter, and it makes sense to do amidst like a war, certainly, but it also makes sense to do amidst like a global pandemic, right? It makes complete and total sense to just give people the money they need in order to get the food, get the shelter they need. And it's very, very telling that it's this difficult to get the people in power to provide any amount of support. Like, and what's crazy about this is like we're not even asking for institutional structures to be erected or anything, right? Like, typically when you are like the big projects of government, the big projects of government are the things that require lots of institutional structures to be built, right? And it's incredibly easy to pass something like a basic income, to just give citizens money, right? Like here in Canada, Justin Trudeau did the CERB in a week. It took no time at all to get that kind of thing going because we have a tax system, right? We have a structure in place that we can just, if we can funnel the money one way, we can funnel the money the other way. And in fact, we do, right? There are people who pay taxes and then get money reimbursed, and that tax system just reimburses money. And so you could literally just put in to the tax system like a mathematical formula that kicks back money to people, right? And just like we could make this system so much more streamlined, and it wouldn't even be that difficult to do, right? It wouldn't be that difficult to do. It would just require the will to do it. And here in Canada, we did it once and then dismantled it swiftly when we realized that the consequences of passing a basic income is that the workers actually get leverage in the market, which is a problem for the capitalist class, right? You can't have a working class that actually has leverage in the market. That doesn't work for the capitalists. Because the capitalists, as I keep saying on this channel, right? They do no work, they accomplish nothing, right? They barely make plans. They literally just like look at a building and say, sell toys from there. And then they hire somebody to actually organize that. And the person they hire to organize it, the CEO, right? The CEO is mainly a mascot. Like, you have vice presidents of operations and you have people who are hired a tier down from that. Because why would a CEO actually want to do any of that work? CEOs want to do like the mascot work and like the branding, and they're not interested in actually doing any work. So it's you that's got to do the work. And the capitalist system has shown that they'll put you to work in the middle of a pandemic. Just so you guys know what I'm doing, I got like a little Kong here for my peanut butter pug. Here's my peanut butter pug. Do you want that, buddy? Do you want that? Yes, he does. I got to give you the pug when I've got the pug. He goes over to mom's house every so often, so I don't have him very often. So he's going to go over here and have some peanut butter. And so Joe Biden could very easily pass basic income style legislation, right? And it would not be that difficult to do, right? Other nations have shown that passing a basic income and passing basic income style legislation is actually quite simple to do. And that's why you have a situation now where you have like Mitt Romney, putting forward legislation that is essentially the childcare benefit that comes from Stephen Harper's administration, right? Because it's a way, like, people like Mitt Romney's such an interesting figure, right? Because he's got this Mormon background, right? He's kind of nutty, but especially as he's gotten older, he's gotten less hawkish and he's gotten less hardcore in the way he views the world, certainly. And I mean, he was the guy who kind of created Obamacare, right? So like, while I don't think what he does goes far enough, I think that he may just be a man who finds himself in a position where this is what can be done given the pieces that are in place, right? And I think Mitt Romney looked at what ended up being Obamacare, right? Romneycare. He looked at that and saw an opportunity to actually help some people, right? And it's not good enough by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe it's all he could do, right? Maybe it's all he could get in. And I think the childcare benefit operates in the same way, right? Like Stephen Harper, when he put in the childcare benefit, you've got to remember, like, a basic income is an incredibly unpopular idea in conservative circles. It's an incredibly popular idea amongst liberals, and it's an incredibly popular idea amongst NDPers and Green Party people, right? And when I mean incredibly popular, I mean it has an approval rating of like 75%. Like it's got super majority support in the Liberal and NDP file, which I always got to say, right? If the NDP don't run on a basic income, I think that they have no brain in their head whatsoever, or they're completely complicit with the capitalist class. Like they have to run on a basic income. It has to be the policy they run on. And if they don't run on a basic income, then I don't quite get why they are there and what they're here to do. Anyway, but Stephen Harper passes a childcare benefit, and he does so very quietly with no fanfare whatsoever. I remember when I was very much paying attention to the basic income movement around that time, and nobody, no fanfare went up. No announcements were made, nothing huge, nothing big. He just quietly passed this legislation, which is a childcare benefit, which is a basic income for children. And it's worked. It's worked fabulously. It's worked so well that now Mitt Romney is attempting to put forward the same legislation, right? To at least ameliorate and create some kind of buffer for the suffering that children are experiencing, right? Can we at least say that children should not be experiencing the suffering of poverty? But keeping their, and it's also a compromise to capital, right? Like it says to capital, okay, we'll protect people who have children, but we'll make sure that their families are not, like, that doesn't get them out of poverty. That keeps them working for the capitalist system. Sure, they have enough to like buy the necessities for their child, but they still need to feed themselves and they still need to pay rent. So they're still going to be working for the capitalist class. They're still going to be sending their kid to the state-run school system, which indoctrinates people, right? Like, I had a conversation just today with somebody, like somebody who's in the boomer category, somebody who I respect and who I have a great deal of respect for, and I like to talk to as often as I can. And she was very explicit that when she was in school, it was really, really drilled into her head that communism is bad. That even talking about communism, right? Let alone doing what I'm doing, where I'm straight up like a communist, telling people that I am a communist and I will defend communism. And I will defend the nations who have done communism, right? And so she's telling me, like, yeah, when I was growing up in school, like, we were indoctrinated by it. We were propagandized by it in our school system. In our school system, we were really hit with the anti-communism propaganda. And I mean, that works for the benefit of the capitalist class without a shadow of a doubt, because that means that they don't, like, if they can convince people that we don't need to do socialism or communism or have any other idea other than capitalism, well, then they've chased out their primary competitor, haven't they? And if they're chasing out their primary competitor, there is no idea to actually help the just working class of people. Right? That the working class people just need to work harder. They just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Capitalism will help them. Capitalism will save them. Like, as it's literally grinding people under their boots. Capitalism will save them. And what's very interesting to me, right, is the like, never has it been clearer that our political systems do not work for us. right? Our political systems do not work for us, the workers or the citizens, right? They work for the powerful. And we know that they work for the powerful because here we have an idea that is extremely popular, extremely affordable. We know that we can do it. There have been plenty of experiments. There are even some countries that are running a basic income platform. Canada has a basic income for children and the elderly, right? We know it's a system that works. But the problem is that the capitalist class knows that what it also does is it gives workers the ability to say no to terrible wages and terrible labor conditions, right? It allows the worker to say, no, I think that you can do better than what you're offering. And the capitalist class doesn't want to have that kind of competition, right? And the capitalist class has always known that competing with the government is a losing deal. They know it. They'll tell you, right? They'll tell you outright. If you erect a government service or a government-run institution in order to go up against, in order to compete against a capitalist enterprise, the government-run institution will win. And the capitalists know it, right? They are aware of it. And they'll complain about it. They'll complain about it like, oh, you're just killing competition. And competition is how you improve things, right? What they really mean is that you're killing their grift, right? You're killing that. You're not killing competition. You're competing with them and you're obliterating them with a superior system. Something that's government run, right? Keeps wages high, keeps services up, keeps prices low, right? And because governments can do that. And we've seen that. Take a look at our healthcare system. Single payer healthcare system, not perfect, obviously, it never is, but we can improve our society and improve our situation. By leaps and bounds, we can do it. And something like a basic income, while I don't think it is the end point for society, it is to me, like, one thing that frustrates me is that basic income proponents call it an inevitability. It's not an inevitability, right? The powerful could just abandon us, right? Like, it could go exactly the other way. The society could just, like, the powerful people could just retreat into their castles and just be like, okay, you guys die, right? Fend for yourselves, right? They could do that. They've done that. Like, what do you think's happening in Michigan, Flint? What do you think's happening in Flint, Michigan, right? Do you think the government is coming in and, like, there's an inevitability? Do you think there's an inevitability to those pipes being fixed? Do you think that the government is going to inevitably come in and, like, everyone's going to get a basic income and improve their lives and all that kind of stuff? Or do you think they're just going to keep getting abandoned like they have been for several years now? Right? Like, do you genuinely think that the elected government who got elected, the Biden administration got elected saying we're going to pass $2,000 checks. They said we're going to pass $2,000 checks. And now they're debating about whether or not they're going to give out $1,400 checks, right? Like, at what point do you just start calling it a grift? At what point do you just start calling it a grift? And it's not an inevitability, right? That's the big thing. That's the big takeaway from this video, I hope. Like, it's not an inevitability. We need to demand of our political class that they actually do what they say they're going to do and to actually stand up. And for us here in Canada, it means contacting the NDP and telling them to pass a basic income. Telling them to double down on a basic income, telling them that you're not going to support them if they don't support a basic income. Or else we're just going to end up with more poverty, more despair, more ridiculous nonsense all over the place. Like, we can do better. We should do better. I hope we do better. Anyway, this is going to be the end of me. Why don't I give you a good shot of my pug before I go? Hey, buddy. Why don't you say hi to the people at home? Huh? Why don't you say hi to the people at home? If you've made it to this point, guys, be sure to subscribe, like the video, free to do. I'm not going to try the 5-minute video again. That was a big flop. I tried to game the algorithm is what that was. Okay, guys, good luck out there. We're going to need it.